Hello everybody, my name is Beth, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you are not new here, welcome back. It is so good to have everybody here, so thank you for coming. This is my 23 books I want to read in next year, 2023, and I have way more than 23 books. I actually have 24 or 25 on my list, and then I have 4 bonuses. And at some point I'm going to have to stop the video and get up and go get one of the bonuses. So I have several that I don't have on hand. I don't have them personally. So I'll have to put pictures up. And some of them I don't know anything about. And some of them are new releases. Some of them are not new releases. So here we go. The first one, and they're in no particular order in how I'm going to read them. The first one is, and I'll put a picture up here, How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. It is due to be released the 17th of January. And it's about two children, I think they're adult children, who have lost their parents due to the coronavirus. And it was at the end of the coronavirus, so the virus is over now. And essentially, I think they're broken. They need to sell their house, their childhood house, but it's haunted, and so they're having a bit of a problem selling it. So that's the second one. Is by an author that I have read this year. I read back in October. I read The Lost Village by this author, by Camilla Stein, and so I want to read The Resting Place. And I got this recommendation from Reading with Merb's. I think that's her channel. She has a recommendations video that was just released yesterday or the day before. I think it was on the 10th. I think it was her Vlogmas Day 10 with all these wonderful booktubers giving recommendations. So I have several of them on this list because they are either books that interest me when I've seen them. So The Resting Place is about a woman who walks in on her grandmother's murder, and she comes face to face with the killer, but she has facial blindness, so she can't describe him to the police. And so the first 8 I don't have. So there'll be pictures up here. The next one is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Wong. So On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is a son's letter to his mother, who is illiterate. And I've seen other booktubers besides the one on Merb's channel recommend it, and I watched, I believe it was Jan Agaton on her channel. I believe it was in one of her vlogs, and so I've been wanting to read it for a while. The next book is All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. And it's about a woman who has to start her life back over after she loses a loved one. And so she's moving back home. I guess it's essentially moving back home. And she rents a room or a place from her landlord's son. And he doesn't know. The landlord doesn't know. Okay, so Mariana Zapata books are slow burn romances, and the next one is Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson, and this is an inheritance. It's so long. It's her children. She leaves her 2 children a message and a black cake made from a family recipe, and so they have to decide what to do with it. It spills all the secrets that she's had held. The next one is Bridge to Haven by Francine Rivers, and it's about a girl who moves to Hollywood and becomes a movie star, and it also has a pastor and his son in it. The pastor found her underneath a bridge, abandoned as a newborn, and so she's doing everything she can to finally feel like she's somebody. So she wants to be a star in Hollywood. So the next one is Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. And even though this is a series, I have read the other 2 books, so I'm not including this in my series. So, hi. Chain of Thorns releases January 31st, unless it gets pushed back. It's by Cassandra Clare, and it's the Shadowhunter series with Cordelia Carstairs and James Herondale and Shadowhunters, and they kill like demons. They fight. They don't kill them. They fight them. And so, I'm counting it with my series that I want to read because I've already read the other 2. So, the next new release I want to read next year is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I've loved every book he's put out. It releases in June on the 20th. And so, this is a Lizzie Borden type story. Supposedly, this woman that lives in this mansion was accused of killing her family, but was never found guilty. So this woman is coming in to help her out, work for her, and so that is the story. And that would be kind of scary to go in and your boss has been accused of killing her family. Okay, the next one was a recommendation by my friend Chris. And she was actually shocked that I had never read this book. And so I've also seen it by other people that, but it's The Book Thief. And this little girl and she lives with her her foster father. And she steals her first book off of a grave. No. Oh yeah, it's at her brother's graveside, and it's called The Gravedigger's Handbook. So she learns to read, and then she starts stealing books from Nazis, the Nazis, book burnings, the mayor's wife's library, wherever she can find them. And so I'm looking forward to it. I was going to read it earlier this year and just didn't get around to it. The next one that I'm going to read, one that I've seen, I believe it was Chloe from Chloe Bunny and Kate's Literature read it. I think they did a buddy read, but it's Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I've heard about it before that, but when they were discussing it, that's when that my interest was piqued. And so this is about a woman who goes missing. It's on her and her husband's wedding anniversary, and he's walking around all doing things that are not really appropriate. And it says he parades around town. He parades a series of lies, deceits, and inappropriate behavior. He's oddly evasive, and he's definitely bitter, but is he really a killer? So I'm looking forward to that. And I think it's told from both perspectives, his and hers. I don't know. I'm not real sure. Yes. Diaries. Her diaries. So the next one I started, but I only got to page 30, and I'm going to count this as a whole book. It's House of Leaves, and this is just about a house that's supposedly bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, and there's something sinister lurking within it. And this man and woman, I think he's like a photographer, Pulitzer Prize winning photojournalist, and his wife and their kids move in, and they just this is the story about it. The next one I had on my TBR for a couple different times this past year. It's Ace of Spades. It's dark academia, and these two students are nominated as prefects, and it's a good opportunity for them because it looks good on college applications and could put them in the running for valedictorians. But once they do, they start getting these sinister text messages from this person named Aces, and it's spilling all their secrets. So I think it deals with racism and other types of prejudices. Some of these authors, I'm not saying their name because I just don't want to mispronounce it. Okay, so the next one I'm going to put up is In the Beautiful Country by Jane Kuo, I think is how you say her name. And this is a middle grade, and it's about this family that moves from Taiwan, and the parents spend their savings into a restaurant, and it's just barely staying, afloat. And they call America the beautiful country, and the young girl is having a hard time in school. She's being bullied, and so this is not what she expected, and so she's a little upset and wondering how she can make this country her own country, So the next one is What We Fed to the Manticore, and I'm putting these together because they came from the same person, from the same booktuber, on this recommendations video. And this What We Fed to the Manticore is told from the perspective of the animals, and it's a series of short stories, and it's The Writing Desk by Rachel Hawk. And this is told in two different timelines. One is about a writer who has published a best-selling #1 book. Like, her first book was the bestseller, and she's struggling with the second book, and her publisher is pushing her really hard. And then the other timeline is this woman who, her mom is very adamant that she's going to follow these rules. She's going to get married to this person, and that's not the dreams that this young girl has for herself. So I'm really excited about that one. It is a Christian book, The Writing Desk is. So Born Into This is by Adam Thompson. Born Into This, I really have to read the synopsis for you because I'm not familiar with it. Today was the first time I'd ever heard about it, and it was on that video that Merb had of booktubers recommending books. I don't know what is wrong with me, why I can't talk. Probably because I've already recorded this before and I didn't like the way I recorded it, because I was looking mostly at the screen telling what these books were about. I was looking at the computer screen because I didn't know enough about them, and I still don't know enough about them, but I really think this one is going to be a good book. So it's a collection of short stories, and it says the stories in Born Into This throw light on a world of a unique cultural practice and perspective, from indigenous rangers trying to instill some pride in wayward urban teens on the harsh islands off the coast of Tasmania, to those scraping by on the margins of white society, railroaded into complex and compromised decisions. To this mix, Adam Thompson manages to bring humor, pathos, and occasionally a sly twist as his characters confront racism, untimely funerals, classroom politics, and overhanging all like a discomforting, burgeoning awareness for both white and black Australia. The the, 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 The damage and disappearance of the remnant natural world. I'll just say that one more time. So it just sounded really good. And this person that recommended, I believe, was from Australia. So I was very interested in that. My husband keeps coming in here and he knows I'm trying to film this video. That's why I try to film in the morning or at night when he's either asleep or gone. So the next one is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. If you watch my channel, you know I got this in the mail for Book of the Month because it was their Book of the Year. And I've already said what this is about. It's about two friends who start this, they create this blockbuster, and they're overnight sensations. They're not even 25 years old. They're brilliant, successful, and rich. But these qualities won't protect them from their own creative ambitions or the betrayals of their hearts. And it says, it is a love story, but not one you've ever heard. So I watched Naomi from Naomi's Library read this. Well, I didn't watch her read it, but I watched her vlog where she read this. And that's when I knew I had to read it because she talked highly of it. So, all right. Where everything's written down, I'm trying to make sure I get everything. Okay, the next one I've had on my TBR so many times. And I don't know why I don't just read it, because the other book I read of his, by him, was amazing. And I loved it. And I just keep putting it on my TBR and keep putting it on my TBR. But it's The Maidens. And it's about this professor who, I think he teaches Greek tragedy at Cambridge. And he has this following of young ladies, and they're called the Maidens. And one of them turns up dead. And this, I think she's a therapist. Yeah, she's a group therapist, is convinced that this professor did it after a friend of her niece's is found dead. She's the one found dead. So I just need to read it. So that's why this one's on here. It's not intimidating. It's just I keep putting it on my TBR and then never getting around to it. So let me go ahead and throw this one in here because it's the next one on in my stack. This one didn't get put on my list, but I really, 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 really have to read this. I love Karen Slaughter's books, and I've had it, I think this is the second month now, and it's about a detective. I think she's a detective. Oh, she's a U.S. Marshal. Anyway, there was a murder, and it's unsolved, and this U.S. Marshal is going to solve it, and she feels like the girl has been forgotten, so, and nobody wants to help. Nobody wants to give any details or help in any way. So the next one is one that I feel is going to be a really difficult read because it's My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, and it's about a teacher-student relationship, and the student thought it was a real relationship, but after she's an adult and some things come to light, she is discovering that maybe it wasn't. The last two on this side, besides my bonuses, I'll put up here The Daughter of Dr. Moreau by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This is one I don't know anything about, but I do know that I love Sylvia Moreno Garcia's books. I read Velvet Was the Night, I read Mexican Gothic, and there was another one I read and I liked it as well. And I had to look it up. It was Gods of Jade and Shadow. Of course I loved it. But anyway, I've seen a couple people read it, and when I watched it on that recommendations video, I was like, yes, why haven't I read this already? Because I do love all of her books so far. And so the last one on this side is All the Light We Cannot See. And that was another recommendation by my friend Chris. So getting down to the wire. Okay, so this one isn't on my list, but it's sitting here, so I want to read The Scarlet Thread. But that's not one of my 23 out of 23. So, and I have these two on here. Fairy Tale by Stephen King. It's his new one. It's supposed to be a fantasy. I don't really know what it's about. And this one, 11/22/63. This one is time travel. They're trying to stop the JFK assassination. So both of these are on my list. Even though, you know, I put them together, like on the same line. They're the same number. This one I've had for 7 or 8 months and just haven't gotten around to it. And this one, of course, it's his new one, and I want to read it. So, and the last one, before we get to the bonuses, is Babel. And this is about a college, and it's a very prestigious college, and it's Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation, also known as Babel. The tower and its students are the world's center for translation and, more importantly, magic. Silverworking, the art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation using enchanted silver bars, has made the British unparalleled in power, as the arcane craft serves the Empire's quest for colonization. Okay, and so Robin Swift is set to is here at this college, and when Britain proposes an unjust war with China over silver and opium, he must decide, can powerful institutions be changed from within, or does revolution always require violence? Okay, so those are my picks for next year, the ones I have to get read. And so my bonuses are, I want to read Becoming by Michelle Obama, and it's just one that I've wanted to read for a while now. I've seen a couple booktubers read it and say that it was really good, and yeah, I was just fascinated by some of the things that they said. And I want to read Persuasion by Jane Austen. I really loved Pride and Prejudice, and people have said that this one is even better than that, so I want to see for myself. And I put another classic on it. It will be a reread, but it's been so long since I read it that I don't think of it as a reread. But I want to read Jane Eyre. I read it when I was in high school, and I also did a paper on the Eyre sisters, and I read this one and Wuthering Heights, and I also read no, I didn't read any by the other Bronte sister. I don't remember her name. Emily, I think. But this was my favorite classic for forever. It probably still is, but I just love the story within this book, and so I want to read this. And then my last bonus is Charles Martin's The Waterkeeper, and it's a Christian fiction book, and it's about a man who lives on an island by himself, but he likes to help people, and that's about all I know on it. And if I like his books, then he has a couple more that I want to read. So one of them is called The Lightkeeper, and the other one is it's something about turning the world upside down. It's about the people who gave their testimonies after Christ was crucified and then rose. You know, it's the ones that came after him. And so if I read my little summary right when I was sitting in the car at Walmart. So I'm really, really intrigued by that one. So I also have Greg Isles that I want to get into. But we'd be here all day if I kept telling you everything I wanted to read. So I think that's plenty. And I appreciate you hanging around. And if you're still here, tell me which of these you have read or you want to read. I will have Merb's channel link down below so you can go watch that recommendations video, because there were so many booktubers on there and they had so many different recommendations and they were all so wonderful, but I couldn't put them all on there because I had ones that I had already I mean, I had to move some of mine just to get, some of those other ones that I wanted on there. But I also thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more from me, please click that subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next one.